Admiral Vex'tar of the Galactic Hegemony stood before the tactical display, his 4 arms crossed in what humans might call smug satisfaction. The blue-skinned Keltheran had just received confirmation that their latest acquisition, a primitive world called Earth, had been successfully catalogued. Their databases now contain detailed files on every military installation, every weapons cache, every single soldier in their pathetic armed forces. Primitive mammals, he muttered, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his native tongue into standard galactic. Barely past their industrial phase, and they think they can resist the hegemony. His aide, a nervous Zephyrian named Crix, shuffled his tentacles uncertainly. Admiral, the preliminary scans show some unusual readings from their population centers. Vex'tar's secondary eyes rolled dismissively. Unusual? What could possibly be unusual about a species that still uses chemical propulsion for space travel? He gestured at the holographic display showing Earth's major cities. Look at them, Crix. They can't even maintain planetary unity. They're split into hundreds of tiny nation-states, constantly bickering among themselves. The invasion fleet had been positioned just outside Earth's detection range for weeks now. 300 ships, each one capable of glassing a continent. The humans wouldn't even see them coming until it was far too late. Begin the descent, Vex'tar ordered. Target their military installations first. Standard procedure. The first wave of attack craft streaked toward Earth's surface, their pilots already composing victory songs in their heads. This would be over before the launch cycle, but as the ships entered Earth's atmosphere, something went wrong. Terribly, impossibly wrong. The first sign of trouble came from Attack Group 7, tasked with neutralizing a military base in what the humans called Nevada. The pilot's voice crackled through the comm system, confusion evident even through the universal translator. Control, this is Strike Leader Quen. We've reached the target coordinates, but there's nothing here. Define nothing, Vex'tar demanded. The base is gone, Admiral. Not destroyed. Gone. As in, it was never there. Our intelligence shows a major installation at these coordinates, but all I see is empty desert. Vex'tar's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Sensor malfunction. Recalibrate and, sir, Crix interrupted, his voice trembling. We're getting similar reports from everyone. The tactical display lit up with confused transmissions from across the globe. Military bases that should have been bristling with activity were empty. Weapons facilities that their spies had confirmed just days ago were now nothing more than vacant lots. It was as if the entire human military had simply vanished. Impossible, Vex'tar hissed. A species doesn't just hide its entire military infrastructure. Where are their soldiers? Their weapons? Their command structures? The answer came in the form of a transmission from the surface. A human transmission, broadcast on every frequency simultaneously. Hello there, folks from beyond the stars. The voice was cheerful, almost conversational. This is Captain Luna Martinez of the Earth Defense Corps, though I suppose "captain" is kind of a loose term these days. Welcome to our little blue marble. Vex'tar's skin shifted to a darker shade of blue, a sign of rising anger among his species. How did they penetrate our communications? You're probably wondering where all our shiny military toys went, Luna continued, as if she could hear his thoughts. Well, here's the thing about humans. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know a thing or two about misdirection. The display flickered, and suddenly the tactical view of Earth changed. What had appeared to be civilian population centers were now revealed as massive military installations. Skyscrapers that had seemed like ordinary office buildings were actually weapons platforms. Suburban neighborhoods were launch sites for missile systems that made the hegemony's own weapons look like children's toys. You see, Luna's voice continued, we figured out about 50 years ago that the universe was a pretty hostile place. So we made a decision. Every human settlement would be a fortress. Every citizen would be a soldier. Every building would be a weapons platform. Vex'tar's 4 hearts began beating in frantic syncopation. This is impossible. Our intelligence networks are infallible. We've been monitoring this species for decades. Oh, you mean these intelligence networks? Luna asked sweetly. The comm system erupted with new voices. Familiar voices. Voices of hegemony spies who had been operating on Earth for years. Admiral, this is Agent Ilex, came one transmission. I'm afraid I have some bad news. The humans, they knew. They've known about us from the beginning. What? Vex'tar roared. They've been feeding us false information, sir. Those military installations we reported? They never existed. The real ones were hidden in plain sight. And Admiral, there's something else. Something about the marks. What marks? The scars, sir. We thought they were from primitive medical procedures or accidents. But they're not. They're decorative. Ceremonial. And Admiral, nearly every human has them. The display shifted again, showing high-resolution images of humans going about their daily lives. Vex'tar's eyes widened as he began to notice what the spies were talking about. Small scars on hands, arms, faces. Marks that seemed random but, when viewed through the tactical analysis system, revealed themselves as something far more sinister. Combat marks, Crix whispered. They're keeping track of their victories. Victories over what? Vex'tar demanded. Luna's laughter echoed through the comm system. Over each other, mostly. You see, we humans have this funny habit. We fight. A lot. We fight over territory, resources, ideas, sometimes just because we're bored. And we keep score. The tactical display zoomed in on individual humans. An elderly woman tending a garden had 17 small scars on her left hand. A young man playing with children had 23 marks along his forearm. A teenager walking to what appeared to be a school had 9 carefully placed marks on her neck. Each mark represents a life taken in combat, Luna explained. It's an old tradition, going back to our earliest civilizations. We mark ourselves to remember our victories, to honor our fallen enemies. Vex'tar's breath caught in his throat. How many? Of our population of roughly 8 billion, about 7.9 billion have at least one mark. The remaining 100 million are children under the age of 12 who haven't had their first combat yet. The silence that followed was deafening. Vex'tar's tactical mind began processing the implications. An entire species where nearly every individual was a combat veteran. Where children were trained from birth to kill. Where warfare was so common that they had developed ceremonial traditions around it. But that's not the really interesting part, Luna continued. The interesting part is what happens when we stop fighting each other and start fighting together. Which, thanks to your impending invasion, we just did. The Earth's surface erupted in activity. What had appeared to be a peaceful, primitive world was suddenly revealed as a fortress beyond the hegemony's worst nightmares. Weapon systems that had been disguised as cellular towers activated. Military installations that had been hidden beneath shopping malls deployed their defensive arrays. The human military hadn't disappeared. It had been there all along, camouflaged as their civilian population. Admiral, Crix's voice was barely above a whisper. The power readings from the surface, they're off the charts. These aren't primitive weapons. They're more advanced than our own. Vex'tar stared at the display, his mind struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. How is this possible? Our technology is thousands of years ahead of theirs. Well, Luna's voice crackled with amusement, here's another fun fact about humans. We really like our weapons. We've been making them for 10,000 years, and we've gotten pretty good at it. While other species were learning to sing in harmony or achieving spiritual enlightenment, we were figuring out new and creative ways to kill things. The first wave of hegemony attack craft suddenly found themselves under fire from weapons they couldn't even classify. Energy beams that seemed to bend space itself. Projectiles that moved faster than light. Missiles that phased through their shields as if they weren't there. Impossible, Vex'tar muttered, watching his ships die on the tactical display. No species advances that quickly. No species is that violent. Oh, but we are, Luna replied. You see, Admiral, most species in the galaxy develop along predictable paths. They discover fire, then agriculture, then writing, then metallurgy, then space travel. It's all very orderly and civilized. More ships died. The humans weren't just winning. They were slaughtering the hegemony forces with casual efficiency. But humans? We did things a little differently. We discovered fire, then immediately figured out how to use it as a weapon. We developed agriculture, then invented biological warfare. We created writing so we could pass down better military tactics. We learned metallurgy so we could make sharper swords. Vex'tar's flagship began receiving targeting locks from the surface. Dozens of them. Hundreds. The entire planet was aiming at his ship. Every single advancement in human technology has been driven by our desire to kill each other more efficiently, Luna continued. We didn't develop space travel to explore the universe. We developed it so we could drop rocks on our enemies from orbit. The Admiral's hands trembled as he reached for the retreat signal. This wasn't an invasion anymore. This was a massacre. And now, Luna's voice took on a tone of mock regret, you've given us a new enemy to fight. One that's not human. Do you know what that means, Admiral? Vex'tar didn't answer. He couldn't. His vocal cords had seized up with terror. It means, Luna said, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a roar, that for the first time in our history, every human on this planet is on the same side. The comm system went silent. Then, slowly, other voices began to join the transmission. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All human. All speaking in unison. Welcome to Earth, they said. We hope you brought friends. The tactical display showed the impossible. 8 billion individual targeting systems, all locked onto the hegemony fleet. 8 billion humans, each with their own weapons, their own combat experience, their own collection of scars, and as Admiral Vex'tar watched his invasion fleet burn in Earth's atmosphere, he realized something that would haunt him for the rest of his very short life, the woman calling herself Captain Luna Martinez. She wasn't on any military roster. She was a kindergarten teacher, and she had 47 marks on her arms. The kindergarten teacher's voice came through the comm system again, but this time it carried an edge that made Vex'tar's exoskeleton itch with primal fear. Now, Admiral Vex'tar of the Galactic Hegemony, Luna said, pronouncing his name and title with perfect accuracy, let's have ourselves a little chat about proper manners when visiting someone's home. Vex'tar's secondary heart skipped a beat. How do you know my name? Oh, we know lots of things about you, Blue Boy. Did you really think we wouldn't notice when your species started asking questions about our primitive military capabilities? When your trade delegations kept taking detailed scans of our infrastructure? When your diplomats kept requesting tours of our schools and hospitals? The tactical display showed something that shouldn't have been possible. Human children, some no older than 6 or 7, were manning what appeared to be anti-aircraft weapons with the casual efficiency of seasoned veterans. They were laughing and playing games while shooting down ships that cost more than most planets' annual budgets. You see, Admiral, Luna continued, her voice taking on the patient tone she usually reserved for explaining why crayon eating was discouraged, we humans have this wonderful little quirk. We teach our children to fight almost as soon as they can walk. Little Timmy over there just shot down 3 of your fighters while solving his multiplication tables. Crix was frantically working at his console, trying to establish communication with the remnants of the invasion fleet. Admiral, we've lost contact with 60% of our forces. The survivors are requesting immediate evacuation. Negative, Vex'tar snarled, his pride overriding his terror. We are the Galactic Hegemony. We do not retreat from primitive mammals. Luna's laughter echoed through the bridge. Primitive? Oh, honey, you really haven't been paying attention. Let me give you a little demonstration of just how primitive we are. The Earth's moon suddenly lit up like a miniature sun. Weapon systems that had been hidden beneath its surface for decades began deploying. Railguns the size of city blocks. Energy weapons that could crack planets. Missile silos that stretched down to the lunar core. Surprise! Luna chirped. We terraformed that rock about 30 years ago. Well, I say terraformed, but really we just turned it into the biggest gun in the solar system. We call it the pacifier. Isn't that a sweet name? Vex'tar's mandibles clicked in disbelief. The energy requirements alone would be impossible for your level of technology. Would they now? Tell me, Admiral, what do you know about human children? The question seemed to come from nowhere, but something in Luna's tone made Vex'tar's skin crawl. They are young versions of your species. Weak. Defenseless. Wrong on both counts, blue boy. See, human children have this amazing ability. They can learn anything, adapt to anything, survive anything. And about 40 years ago, we started teaching them some very interesting subjects. The comm system crackled with a new voice. Young, maybe 12 years old, speaking with the casual confidence of someone discussing the weather. Hi there, scary alien people. This is Emma, and I'm in 7th grade. For my science project this year, I built a fusion reactor that can power a small city. My teacher says I might get to skip 8th grade if I can figure out how to make it more efficient. Another voice, even younger. I'm Marcus, and I'm 9. I just finished designing a new type of armor that can stop your plasma weapons. My mom says I can test it on real targets if you don't surrender soon. More voices joined in. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All children. All casually describing military technologies that made the hegemony's best scientists weep with envy. You see, Luna explained, we realized something important about our species. We're not just good at fighting. We're good at learning how to fight. Our children don't just play with toys. They play with weapons. They don't just learn mathematics. They learn ballistics. They don't just study history. They study military tactics. The tactical display showed human settlements across the globe. What the hegemony had catalogued as schools were revealed as military academies. Playgrounds were weapons testing facilities. Children's games were combat simulations. Every human child completes basic military training by age 10, Luna continued. Advanced weapons theory by 12. Combat engineering by 14. By the time they're old enough to get their first mark, they're more dangerous than your best soldiers. Vex'tar watched in horror as a group of human teenagers casually assembled what appeared to be a device capable of generating artificial black holes. They were chatting about weekend plans while calibrating weapons that could unmake reality itself. This is impossible, he whispered. No species evolves this way. No species survives this way. Oh, but we do, Luna replied. See, most species develop civilization to escape the dangers of their environment. Humans developed civilization to become the most dangerous thing in their environment. We didn't climb to the top of the food chain. We became the food chain. The moon's weapon systems finished deploying, and suddenly the space around Earth was filled with targeting beams. Each one was locked onto a different ship in the hegemony fleet. Now, Luna said, her voice dropping to a whisper, you have two choices. You can surrender, and we'll let you go home with an embarrassing story about how you got your tentacles handed to you by a bunch of primates. Or you can keep fighting, and we'll demonstrate why humans are the only species in the galaxy that considers war a recreational activity. Vex'tar's pride warred with his survival instincts. The hegemony had never been defeated. They had conquered 1,000 worlds, enslaved 100 species, carved out an empire that spanned half the galaxy. They could not be beaten by a single primitive world. "We are the Galactic Hegemony," he declared. "We do not negotiate with inferior species." Inferior? Luna's voice carried a note of genuine surprise. "Oh, sweetie, you really don't understand, do you? Let me ask you something. How many wars has your species fought?" "The hegemony has conducted 14 major campaigns of expansion over the past millennium," Vex'tar replied with pride. 14 wars in 1,000 years, Luna mused. "That's cute. Humans have fought 14 wars this morning. Before breakfast. Just in North America." The comm system erupted with human voices from around the globe. Soldiers, farmers, teachers, children, all calling out casualty reports from conflicts that had been raging while the hegemony had been planning their invasion. "The Denver water rights conflict just wrapped up," reported one voice. 17 dead, 43 wounded. "The Johnsons won, but the Smiths are already planning a counteroffensive." "The Great Barbecue Sauce War of Detroit is entering its third day," called another. "Current count is 22 casualties, but they're using non-lethal weapons because it's a Tuesday." "The Australian Emu Liberation Front just declared victory over the Sheepherders Coalition," came a third report. "No human casualties, but the emus are demanding representation in Parliament." Luna's laughter filled the comm system. "You see, Admiral, while your species spends centuries planning a single military campaign, we fight dozens of wars before lunch. We don't just practice warfare. We live it. We breathe it. We teach it to our children as bedtime stories." The tactical display showed the true scope of human military capability. Every major city was a fortress. Every suburb was a weapons depot. Every farm was a training ground. The entire planet was a military installation disguised as a civilization. "And now," Luna continued, "you've made a critical error. You've given us a common enemy. Do you know what happens when humans stop fighting each other and start fighting together?" The answer came in the form of action rather than words. The space around Earth erupted in coordinated violence. Weapons systems that had been hidden throughout the solar system revealed themselves. Asteroid mining stations deployed military-grade railguns. Space elevators launched swarms of combat drones. The rings of Saturn opened up to reveal massive weapons platforms. "We turned the entire solar system into a gun," Luna finished. "And we pointed at you." The hegemony fleet began to die in earnest. Not the panicked destruction of the first wave, but systematic, methodical annihilation. Each ship was targeted by multiple weapons systems. Each crew was given exactly enough time to realize they were about to die before the firing solutions were executed. "This is impossible," Vex'tar repeated, his voice breaking. "No species is this violent. No species is this organized. No species is this efficient at killing." "Most species aren't," Luna agreed. "But then, most species didn't evolve on a planet where literally everything was trying to kill them. Most species didn't have to compete with creatures that could snap them in half, or survive ice ages that lasted for millennia, or learn to work together while simultaneously trying to murder each other." The bridge of Vex'tar's flagship shuddered as human weapons found their range. Warning lights flashed as primary systems began to fail. "Most species," Luna continued, "didn't develop war as their primary form of entertainment. Most species didn't turn genocide into a spectator sport. Most species didn't invent nuclear weapons and then use them to settle arguments about fishing rights." The tactical display showed something that made Vex'tar's blood freeze. Human civilian ships were launching from Earth's surface. Not military vessels, but family transports, cargo haulers, even what appeared to be school buses. All armed. All heading straight for the hegemony fleet. "And most species," Luna said, her voice now carrying the cold efficiency of a kindergarten teacher dealing with a particularly difficult child, didn't teach their 5-year-olds how to pilot weapons of mass destruction. The comm system filled with young voices, excited and eager. "Can we blow up the big blue ship, Miss Martinez? Please. We've been practicing with the simulator all week. I want to try the planet cracker. Tommy got to use it last time." "Children," Luna said with infinite patience, "remember what we learned about sharing. Everyone gets to destroy an alien ship. Now, what do we say before we fire?" 8 billion voices, from the oldest grandparent to the youngest child, spoke in unison. "Thank you for the target practice." The space around Earth became a light show of destruction. The Hegemony fleet, which had seemed so massive and invincible just hours before, was reduced to scrap metal and plasma clouds. Ships that had conquered worlds were destroyed by weapons wielded by children who weren't old enough to drive. Admiral Vex'tar found himself alone on his bridge, his crew either dead or fled. His flagship, the pride of the Hegemony fleet, was dying around him. And through it all, Luna's voice continued, calm and conversational. "You know what the really funny part is, Admiral? This wasn't even our military. This was just the PDA." "The what?" Vex'tar gasped. "Parent-Teacher Association. The folks who organize bake sales and field trips. Our actual military has been watching from the outer system, placing bets on how long you'd last." The view screen flickered to life, showing Luna Martinez for the first time. She was exactly what she claimed to be. A kindergarten teacher. Middle-aged, wearing a sweater decorated with cartoon animals, sitting in a classroom surrounded by children's drawings, and she had 47 scars on her arms. "So here's what's going to happen," Luna said, her voice carrying the absolute authority of someone who had spent decades managing rooms full of hyperactive children. "You're going to limp home in whatever ships we decide to let you keep. You're going to tell the rest of the galaxy that Earth is under human protection. And you're going to spread the word that anyone who wants to visit our little blue marble had better bring flowers and candy, because we don't like uninvited guests." Vex'tar's voice was barely a whisper. "What are you?" Luna smiled, and for the first time, her expression held no warmth at all. "We're kindergarten teachers, Admiral. We spend our days managing the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Did you really think a bunch of blue-skinned space bullies would be a challenge?" The last thing Admiral Vex'tar saw before his ship's life support failed was a 5-year-old human child waving at him from the view screen. The child had 2 small marks on her hand. She was just getting started.